7 different platforms in one. So I will be covering some foundational material and then save as much time as we have for some advanced strategies. But ultimately, this session is for you today. So definitely ask questions along the way. Some of the things we'll cover today are how to set yourself for success on Instagram, the best way to approach creating Instagram posts, how to complete some hashtag research, how do you know what hashtags are, where to put them, how to use them, how to grow your Instagram account so that you have new followers coming in consistently, and how to review your analytics so that you can give yourself a little bit of a check to see if things are working for you. But I want to start off with some foundational material talking about the social media sales funnel. Now, those of you who are in the LinkedIn masterclass or workshop may have seen some of this before, so it may be a little bit of a refresher, but I always like to start with the foundations of building this out on Instagram or LinkedIn or whatever platform we talk about in these workshops, just so that we really get a firm grasp on kind of what direction we're going, and we can use some of those foundations to build up from. So we're going to talk about a social media sales funnel, and a sales funnel is essentially a path that your followers take to become buyers and advocates of your brand. So if you are a service-based business, like I see Vince here has a nonprofit, these are those people who find your brand, connect with you, and share it with other people. I see Mike here from Niagara 3D. So it's people who purchase your products and talk about other people. They're like, if you need something, anything 3D, go to Mike. So that's kind of our goal here for today. So when we think about the sales funnel, you may have also heard terms like the know, like, and trust factor. You may have also heard people talking about taking individuals from a cold lead to becoming a warm lead or a hot lead. All of those things essentially mean the same thing, which is a sales funnel. And here's an example of what that looks like. So you've got 4 different phases. We've got the attract phase, which is really bringing new people into your brand, people who've never heard of you before. We want them to become aware of you. Then we have the build phase, which is essentially people getting to know you a little bit better. This is where a lot of our social media content lives. We're talking about people who may have been interested in something like what Kelly offers in her online store for quilting cotton fabric. Okay, so they kind of know Kelly, they can see what she's offering, and they go, I don't know if I want to buy from this person versus the other person, right? So you're building up that trust with them, especially for an online business. Even if you are locally, we've all experienced things where we give people our money for something and what we get in return isn't quite what we expect. So we want to give people an example of what that looks like. The convert phase typically happens through email marketing, can happen directly through social. It's if people are walking into your store, they are visiting your online platform, they're actually giving you money for the things that you offer. And then the last phase is the advocate, which is really something that can be amplified by social media. It's people taking photos of your products and sharing them. It's people tagging you in their Instagram stories and those sorts of things. So we'll talk about how to facilitate each of these stages today. But I want to start with our 3 W's. So for those of you who are from the LinkedIn workshop will find this familiar. But the first W is what do you sell? So your offer. A lot of you put that in the chat. Your second W is who is it for? So who is your ideal customer or client? And the last W is why does it matter? So if you have already put some of these in the chat, I'd love for you to fill out the 3 W's. And for that third one, the why does it matter? I really want you to focus on the transformation that your work brings, okay? The transformation. So I'll give a few examples here, just going through the chat. Marina, for example, has S&G HR consulting. So as someone who just recently hired, my transformation would look like being frustrated with finding the right people and finding the perfect candidates to work in my business, people who are here for the long term and have the tools I need to be able to onboard them and manage them ongoing, right? So if I'm looking for HR consulting, that's probably the transformation that I'm looking for, right? And so we want to take that transformation and make sure it's showing up in our social media posts, make sure it's showing up on our Instagram profile itself, and it's in all of the things that we do as a business. So let's show a few examples of this. This is a local bakery example. So if you're a local bakery, what do you sell would be the baked goods. Who is it for? Residents local to your area. This bakery happens to be in Niagara Falls. Why does it matter? People who want fresh and tasty treats from a local shop. So when we think about that transformation, it's not just the people who want baked goods, right? It's not the people who would just go to your Metro or Sobeys and pick something up. It's someone who wants something fresh and something from a local business. So this is what you're going to emphasize in your posts, the posts themselves, okay? One more example for a service-based business. So the previous one was product-based and the baked goods. This one's service-based, local accountant. So what do you sell? Tax preparation services. Specifically, this accountant does that. Who is it for? Small businesses local to Grimsby area. And why does it matter? Businesses want a company they can trust, specifically with something as important as taxes and accounting. All right, so I can see that, let's see, Vince posted, we provide support, leading people towards peace and happiness. Love that transformation. Julie has quite a bit here. Organizing and bringing happiness to their homes. I love it. And she's got a whole section in here about how she does that, which is very good. I love this, very specific. So great. These are all, Julie, you probably have 4 or 5 posts just within what you shared today. So that's amazing. I love it. All right, so now that we've laid the foundation, let's talk a little bit about how this shows up in your Instagram profile, because we want to make sure that your profile is optimized so that people can connect with you and understand what you do at a glance. So taking a look at this example here from the Savvy Social School profile, the first thing you want to have is your profile photo. We chose to use a logo here. So if you are a company, especially if you have multiple people working with your company, you may want to go with a logo. If you are your brand, or if you are the main person that people talk to, you may want to go with a picture of you. So for instance, on the agency side of my business, I have my photo as the profile photo of the Online Drea brand, but for the Savvy Social School, we have instructors, we have a program coordinator. It's not just me kind of facilitating the trainings, and so we use a logo in that case. So that can help you decide whether you should use a logo or personal photo. Right now, at the time of recording this or presenting this in June 2021, personal photos are working best. So if you can, I would put a human's face as your profile photo instead of a logo. Next up, we have our bio section. So you only get a limited number of characters here. It is changing a little bit. So check within your app as you update this. Actually, I'll show you in a minute where to update these. It'll give you the most updated character count, but you want it to be easy to read. So you can see here for the bio, I have emojis, I have short statements, and it's really focused in on what we do. And ultimately, you also want to think about how you can add that transformation in there as well. Next up, we have our link. So when we think about Instagram, the main difference of Instagram versus the other platforms is that you only get one link on your profile page or on your platform, essentially. And so I've created a short link. If you want any resources about that, we can dive deeper into that as well. For those of you who have questions, you can just use your website link here as well. And then lastly, I do have some highlight covers. So this is from Instagram Stories. Has anyone explored Instagram Stories yet? Type yes or no in the chat. I'd love to know where we're all at as far as Instagram stories go. If you haven't, we will be talking about this later today, but if you have, you can go ahead and update your Instagram stories and save them essentially for longer, because Instagram stories only last for 24 hours. You can essentially save them on your profile for longer. I see a lot of yeses, a few no's, so we will definitely dive more into Instagram stories later. All right, so what I'm going to do now is switch on over to sharing my phone and show you how to update your profile. Now, when we're looking at our Instagram account here, in the top right-hand corner, there's this little hamburger menu. It may look different if you're on an Android device. I am on a iOS device, but you can tap that menu. You can also look at your profile here. There's this big edit profile section right in the middle. So that's actually what I'm going to tap on. And from here, you can edit up your profile. So I've got my name. Any of these areas are searchable. So I actually added social media to my name. You're limited in characters here, but if you can add a keyword there, that may be helpful for people to find you. Your username, this is what people tag. So at OnlineDrea, at Savvy Social School, it really is that username. They just recently added pronouns. So if you're a personal brand, you can add those in. Your website, and then this is your bio here that we just talked about editing. So if you want to add in a few things, you can. And again, keep it short, keep it skimmable, because people kind of look at this at a glance. So you want to be able to make it easy for them to comprehend and understand kind of what you're all about. Awesome. All right, I'm going to switch back over to my slides, but as you have more questions, definitely pop them into the chat. All right, let's talk about posting to Instagram. We're going to build out an Instagram content system. I'm going to kind of go through this quickly. You can take notes, you can take screenshots, and I believe there's going to be a recording after as well, but ask questions in the chat as we go through. All right, so first up, we're going to break our content down into pillars, and we've got the 5 pillars of social media content. The first pillar is that promotional content. So this is you talking about your business, talking about your brand, and I'm going to give you a formula later for how to write a caption for this type of post. But essentially, you want people to do something after they see this post. They should stop by your store. They should visit your online store. They should send you a direct message asking for more information. You want them to do something here. Next up, we have our educational posts. These posts are designed to teach people something, to really showcase your expertise and your business's expertise on your subject matter. So for example, Julie, I'm going to use you as an example with your organizational services. One of the posts that you could do is on why a microfiber cloth is important. You're educating on that topic. Okay, so one other example here I'll pick, Denise from Niagara Mountainside Therapeutic Services. When you're educating about the importance of the services that you provide, you want to pull out one small piece and talk about that on social media. And oftentimes these educational posts are things we just know and we assume everyone knows because we live it every single day. We think it's obvious. Sometimes it's not. And you want to be able to show that to people using the power of social media. All right, our third pillar of content is community content. So community content is that type of content that really showcases that you're not the only one talking about these topics. You're not the only one in your space discovering this. And especially for us local businesses, it is really highlighting that you are part of your local community. Specifically in the past, 18 months, because of the pandemic, there's a lot of opportunities to share resources. So think about how you can do that, whether that be an article, whether that be an event, whether that be information, whether that be someone who has a similar business that's non-competing. We're really showing that we're part of something larger here. Our fourth pillar of content is entertainment content. Now, this is one that business owners struggle with sometimes because we don't want to post a selfie of what we ate today. But I want you to think about this content pillar as really giving us a lens, a viewpoint into the behind the scenes of your business. Think about this as the reality TV show version of the work that you do. So if you are that local bakery, you're going to show us what your process looks like. Maybe it's showing us a photo of the dough as it's rising, right? If you are an accountant, maybe you're going to show us what your office looks like or what your team looks like. Give us some insight into that process. You can also add humor here if you'd like. I've seen some people post memes, some people post funny things. It's really up to you. And this is where Instagram stories can come into play. Because of the nature of Instagram stories, you can post a lot of your reality TV show version of your business to this format. It doesn't need to be polished. And so it can be a really great way to highlight those things. Lastly, we have our engaging content. So the engaging content is really that content that draws out a dialogue with our audience. And this is good for two reasons. Number one, we want to have communication with our audience, right? We want to have communication with the people who would potentially buy from us. We don't want to be just talking at them. We want to pull them into the conversation. But the second reason is that specifically on Instagram, the algorithm, kind of like the robot that decides what posts we see, loves engagement. So if we can get people to like and comment and share our posts, the Instagram algorithm is more likely to show those posts to other people. Now, when we think about all of these content pillars, remember that your post is mixed in with like someone's niece's birthday, their cute puppy that they bought, and then they're looking at your post. So what do you need to put into that post to really slow them down from scrolling so they take a look at what you have to say and what your business has to say? Okay, so once we have these pillars outlined, we then want to assign each pillar to a day. Okay, now you can combine pillars. So the local bakery example, if you wanted to do an entertainment post mixed with education, you can do that. So snapping a photo of the dough rising maybe and resting, but also educating on why that process is important. Okay, so you can combine them into themes if you'd like, or you can keep them as the content pillar. So here's an example of what this calendar could look like. On Monday, we're going to promote our products. This is the promo post. On Wednesday, we're going to share an article. Maybe we're going to talk about patios opening up locally or something like that. Thursday, we're going to share a moment in our location, the behind the scenes reality TV version of our business. And on Fridays, we're going to ask a question. We're going to try to pull the audience in. Now, one of my favorite ways to ask a question is to use a poll, because you get two types of people. So for example, I'm just use a silly example. What's your favorite meal, breakfast or dinner? If you post that on Instagram, you'll get people in the comments going, I'm more of a breakfast person. You'll get people going, I'm more of a dinner person. And then you'll get the rebel who goes, I'm not any of these. And so you have that ability to kind of facilitate conversation. It's a silly example, but those polls giving the options, the A and the B, can really help people and encourage engagement. All right, so now that we've got our pillars, we've assigned them each to a day, I want us to take each of these pillars or themes and assign them a design. Now, one of the tools I like to use for this is canva.com. Has anyone tried Canva? Love it. It is a true lifesaver when it comes to designing and creating graphics. And because Instagram is like everything you post has to have a photo or video attached, it really can help streamline that process. Yes, we love Canva. If you haven't used Canva, it's a free, easy way to design graphics. So I want to show you some examples of what this could look like. So here's an example of a few designs that I created in Canva. Now, when I showed you on Friday, I'm going to ask a question of the day. This design in the middle that has the orange background is the question of the day. So every time I post a question of the day to Instagram, I'm going to use this design. Okay, So don't go changing it. And I think as business owners, sometimes we want the new, we want the fresh, we want the different, but ultimately we're actually weighing ourselves down with lots of decisions to make every single day. And so we want to create this guideline for ourselves to, number one, make it easier for us, but number two, to help our customers align our brand images with the content that we produce, okay, with our themes, with our authority in the space. Okay, here's another example of how this looks. If you do like to switch things up, you'll notice in the upper left-hand corner and the bottom right corner, we have two designs that are very similar. They're just different colors. So you could do that as well. Same question of the day theme, but you can decide to switch up the colors as well. Okay. And I have an example of what this can look like with a specific local business next. Now, my tip for Canva, I'll leave you with this, is when you are designing your graphics in Canva, to stick with your business's color palette. Typically, you want something similar to your website. So whatever your website looks like, that's what your social media graphics should look like. So if you're in Canva, you can easily change the fonts to be the same fonts as your website, and you can easily change any colors to be the same colors as your website. Okay. Right, let's talk about writing the captions too. So I find that business owners, we either get stuck with designing the graphics or we get stuck with writing the captions. Go ahead and write in the chat, which one are you? Are you a graphic design type person? Or are you a caption writing type person? I tend to get more stuck with the captions. The graphic design comes a little bit easier to me than the caption writing. Yeah, Lauren says both. That's okay too. I think sometimes all of this is new. Social media, I mean, if you think about it, didn't really exist like it does today 10 years ago. So we've had a lot of technology learning to do in the past 10 years. Brooke says both. Denise says more caption writing. Yeah, awesome. All right, so let's talk a little bit about writing captions specifically to promote your business. Sometimes it feels a little bit awkward to kind of talk about ourselves. So I have a little formula for that. Sorry, Lauren was saying loves both writer, designer, and branding coach. Love it. Thank you so much, Lauren, for clarifying. I think social media can be a lot of fun as well, which is what I like. All right, so let's talk about writing this caption. I'm going to give you a formula. It's called the ABCs of writing a social media caption. All right, so we're going to start with the A. The A is your attention grabbing statement. If we think about Instagram, people are scrolling, they see that image, and then I don't know if you've noticed this on Instagram, it's kind of like cut off a little bit and it says like read more or see more or something like that. And you've got to tap on it to like open it up and read the whole caption. So if you think about that from your experience, what makes you tap on that read more? What makes you tap on that see more option? Think about that for your customers and clients as well. Why would they want to read the whole caption? I like to use a bold statement here or a question. Okay, so attention is the A. The B is the benefit. And this is where we're going to pull and draw from our transformational statements. We're going to talk about why someone would need what we offer now, today, and really focusing in on the feelings and not the features. Okay, the feelings and not the features. So I'm scrolling up. I'm actually, Lauren, I'm going to use you as well from the Imperfect Network. So writer, designer, and branding coach. You could list off things like I help with websites, I help with branding, I help with identity, company identity, but those are all features. We want to focus on feeling. So ultimately, you probably help people have a brand that they're proud of. That's a feeling, that pride, right? Ultimately, you help people tap into maybe something a little bit deeper and add more personality to their brands, right? Ultimately, you help people have something professional that really says something about what they do. Those are all feelings. So when we're talking about the benefits of what we do, we want to tap into the feeling side and not so much the feature side. Okay, so we have A, attention, grab their attention in some way. B's, benefits, really tapping into those feelings. And then the C is your call to action. Okay, your call to action. And with the call to action, we want to be specific. And I find that as business owners here, sometimes we think, oh, I've said this already, right? Sometimes we think people know how to find us. They know what our website is. We've said it a million times. But ultimately, social media moves very quickly. I can't even remember what I looked at today on social media. I promise you, your clients and customers don't remember either. And it's not that they don't care, it's just that they have a million other things to do. So how can you make that call to action very clear? So if you want to book my branding services, this is what you do. Click the link in the bio, visit my website, go to Google and search these words, like be very specific on how they take action. Now on Instagram, links in your captions are not clickable. Okay, so links in your captions are not clickable. So if you write out your attention, your benefit, and your call to action, adding a link there is actually making it more challenging for your customers and clients. So you want to direct them to the link that is clickable, which is on your profile in your bio. So as you start scrolling through Instagram, you'll see people say, to learn more, click the link in my bio. That's because it is an easier step for Instagram itself. There are two workarounds for this. The main one is to use paid advertising. So if you pay for advertising, if you boost a post, or if you pay for an Instagram ad, you can then add a link to that post. So you may see those in your feed. And in Instagram stories, if you have over 10,000 followers, you can add a link for people to directly access your resources by swiping up. Okay, so those are the two ways you can get around that. All right, let's see this in action. This is one of my clients, attention grabbing statement at the beginning. People don't usually think about success and the process of achieving it as fun. Is success fun? So you probably tap on this, read more if you're into life coaching, that sort of thing. All right, here's an example of some of the benefit statements. This is particularly promoting a podcast about a woman who is a digital nomad. She works full time and she lives 100% abroad. So if you're interested in that, you probably want to listen to her story about how she does that, what self-care practices she does to manage loneliness, the steps she took to get out of debt while living abroad and working full time. All of those things are great things to point out by a specific or from a specific episode. And then here is an example of a call to action. And you can see in this example, I have a little emoji there pointing directly to the link. This is a Facebook example for this training, but even if you say link in the bio, sometimes having that little emoji arrow can do wonders, okay? Awesome. All right, so we talked about the 5 pillars. We've assigned the pillars to a day. We've given them a theme, and we've talked through writing captions for that promotional pillar. Now we want to put it all together. What I recommend is setting aside 1 hour a week to create your social media content. Okay, 1 hour a week. And one of my favorite tools to do this is Planoly. It helps you plan out your social media content. So I'm going to put that in the chat. This is my link. I think there's a little free trial with this link, Planoly. Let me click on this and show y'all what this is. But Planoly is a content planning tool for Instagram. And so it can really help you use the desktop instead of having to type everything in. So let me show you what the dashboard looks like on the back end here, so you can see how you can plan out your posts. And again, I recommend spending an hour a week on this. You may not get through everything. Okay, so you may not get through everything. You may start this 1 hour a week and only get a handful of posts. Let me switch on over to my Instagram here and show you what this looks like. So with Planoly, what happens is you see how there's this grid on the left-hand side. You can actually plan out your social media posts this way. And this is how you can type them up without having to use your app. Rob and I were chatting about this before. I'm not the type of person who likes to like text type in the apps. Anyone else like this? I don't know what it is. It feels like it feels very burdensome to me. So alternative is Tailwind. Yep, there's Tailwind, there's Later. Hootsuite does this as well. They're all great resources for this. So if you simply want to add a post, you can upload images here. You can type in the captions of the posts themselves and edit them as well. Anything that goes here, you can save your hashtags, add them all in. I find it a lot easier to use. Awesome. All right. So my thumbs make mistakes. Yeah, same here. And I love a good spell check, and I like to see everything all in one place. Now, you don't necessarily need a tool to spend this 1 hour a week planning your social content. You can use Google Document as well. I have some of my students who do that. Ultimately, as long as you commit to this strategy, you will improve. And if it's new to you, it's going to feel hard because it's something new. So keep that in mind. All right, let's talk about hashtags. What is a hashtag? A hashtag is essentially a link to a search query. So when we're talking about hashtags on Instagram, it's how people can search for you. It's a hyperlink text preceded by this little number sign, which we all call a hashtag now. It makes your content searchable, meaning people can find you. So it helps group similar content pieces together. I want to show you a quick trick for some hashtag research here in a moment, but I want to give us a few little guidelines as we're going through and looking for hashtags. Don't use any spaces in your hashtag. That breaks it, so it has to be all one word. You want to make sure to avoid characters like question marks, colon, semicolon, commas, even apostrophes will break your hashtag. So keep that in mind. Now you can combine words. In fact, that's the best way to look at hashtags. The more words you combine, the more specific it gets. So there is a little bit of a sweet spot. And you can use emojis. So if people are using an emoji in a hashtag, you can do that as well. The maximum number of hashtags allowed in any post on Instagram is 30. Okay, so I personally recommend using as many of those 30 as possible, especially if you're starting out, because you want people to find you. Now, let me switch on over to my phone here and show you how I start my hashtag research. So when I'm going on Instagram to search for a hashtag, I want to go to the Discover page, which is at the bottom here. There's a little magnifying glass. You want to click on that. Again, I am on an iOS device. If you're on an Android, it could look a little bit different. Now from here, I'm going to start searching. Let's say I want to do Niagara first. I'm going to click on over to tags here. And that will start pulling up a bunch of hashtags that start with the word Niagara. Now you'll see a number underneath. At the top is Niagara Falls. It says 3.1 million posts. What that means is over time, over 3 million posts have been submitted to Instagram using this hashtag. It's a lot of posts. Typically, I recommend looking for something over 10,000 uses, but under 2 million. Something like Niagara Falls, that means a lot of people are using it and maybe a little bit too busy to be discovered. The other thing you want to do as you're looking through hashtags is you do want to tap on it. So once I tap on Niagara Falls, you'll see it'll pull up a lot of posts. This is how people discover you based on your hashtags. You can see that there's an Instagram reel, which we'll talk about later today in a moment. But you can also see other people who follow it. And Instagram has naturally kind of set aside here the top posts based on their algorithm. Okay, so this is how people can find you. You can also tap on over to recent posts and take a look at who used this hashtag most recently. Okay, so when I'm starting my hashtag research, I'll start looking at posts like these. You can even tap on a post to see if there are other hashtags used along with this by these users. So this first post, for instance, also used New York, waterfalls, time lapse, mist, almost Canada. Okay, so you can see their hashtags there. Now, I like to use, like I said, hashtags that aren't as busy. So I might actually use Fort Erie, which is where I'm located. So if I'm a Fort Erie business, I probably want to use hashtag Fort Erie because I want people to find my brand who are located in Fort Erie. Okay. And so you'll see there's that reel again, and then you've got some of the top posts here in Fort Erie. You can also tap on over to the recent posts to explore those as well. Start collecting these. Again, you can save them to a Google Doc. If you use a tool like Planoly, it saves, or Tailwind, it saves them right within the tool for you, and it can help you a little bit with these hashtags, okay? Last question or last thing to note about hashtags is some people put them in the actual caption themselves, and some people put the hashtags underneath the post. Okay, so let me see if I can find an example of what this looks like. Let me see if I can pull up one of my clients as an example. So this is Linda. You can see that her hashtags are at the bottom of this caption, right within the post itself. I find that this is the easiest way to do this. It's an aesthetic choice if you want to put it as the very first comment. Some people do that because they don't like to see the hashtags in the caption itself. We've tested both ways in my agency, and they both work equally as well, as long as your hashtags are posted around the time that the post is shared. So you can't go back an hour later and add in hashtags. It doesn't work as well. Okay, so around the time that this post is shared, your hashtag should be shared along with it. Questions about hashtags? Let me move back over to my slides. Wonderful. All right, let's talk about growing Instagram accounts. I get this question a lot. So I'm posting, my account isn't growing. And so I want us to be a little bit proactive about our growth strategies. I like to think of this like dating. Okay, so if you decide that you want to like find your partner, you could just sit at home and wait for people to come find you. Maybe the mailman, I don't know. Amazon has been visiting my house a lot lately during this pandemic life. But most likely, if you wanted to find your partner, you'd probably put yourself out there. You would ask friends and family, you would sign up for some apps, you would, when we're allowed to, go back in real life again, maybe go to bars, coffee shops, things like that, right? So the same is true for our business. Sometimes we post and we hope people are going to find us, which they can through hashtags, but ultimately we want to also be proactive with this. So we're going to use what I call the Savvy Engagement Growth Recipe. And there are some key ingredients. The first ingredient is a like. So liking posts in the hashtags that you're using. So for me, for instance, if I were a Fort Erie business, I would go to hashtag Fort Erie and start liking some of the posts that people use that hashtag with. Next up is a comment, being very specific to that post, but leaving a comment. Even more commitment as a follow. So let's say you find someone's page and you're like, they're perfect. I think we could be a match. You could follow them so you can keep up with their posts. And then lastly is the direct message, more like the dessert in this recipe. We can really go a long way to establishing connections. Now I want to emphasize that this is, it has to be real. It has to be organic. Sometimes as business owners, we get a little overzealous. We bump into someone and we go, oh my gosh, you're perfect, marry me. And sometimes there's like a little bit of a dating, a wooing period that goes on. So think of that when you're using social media. The other warning I have too about this recipe is these like spam comments that we're all getting. Is anyone else getting these? Where people are like, amazing, thumbs up emoji. And it's not real. It's just like some robot that somebody programmed that's leaving fake comments. We don't want to be mixed up with these. Brooke says, OMG, yes. Promoted on, yeah, those comments are annoying. And so when we leave comments, we just want to make sure people don't get confused about who we are and that they know for sure that we're not one of those robots. So to apply this recipe, there's a few different places that you can look and search for new connections. So your current followers, take a look at who they're connected with. Take a look at who liked and commented on their recent posts. You can go to people who target specific hashtags. like I showed you, scrolling through the Fort Erie hashtag, taking a look at those posts. You can look at people who engage with your posts. So ultimately, there are people out there applying this strategy. They're looking for you, they're engaging with you. You can look at your competitors' followers, see who's following them, see if they also want to follow you. You can look at industry leaders. This one's one of my favorites, going to an industry leader and seeing who's liking and commenting on their content. Looking in certain locations as well. Specifically, let me actually show y'all what this looks like again. Oh, hold on, my phone disconnected. Give me one sec. I'll show you what this looks like as you are going through. But as I pull up my phone and show you, a few other things to note. Don't neglect your current followers for this strategy. So when we're thinking about liking and commenting and networking on Instagram, we want to make sure that we are still paying attention to those followers, but we also want to spend some time finding new people, okay, engaging with new people. And this is the way that we grow. Now, some of y'all are perfectionists and overachievers, so I want to give you some boundaries for this, some guardrails and guidelines. We want to spend about 10 or 20 minutes a day engaging on social media. So don't try to go out on Saturday and like spend 5 hours on Instagram. 1, you'll get exhausted. 2, you will hate it. And 3, you won't see as much progress. This kind of strategy only works if you stick with it consistently. Okay. All right. So let me show you what this looks like on Instagram. So when we're looking on Instagram, I have this still pulled up. Let me actually go over to something like a location. So St. Catharines, for example. I'm going to tap on over to places, and you can actually take a look at all of the people who've checked in to St. Catharines. Okay, you can look at the top posts. I like to look at the recent posts for this strategy and take a look at the people who checked in. So Ruby Red here just posted that they are open for curbside pickup. So you may want to like and engage with this post if it's related to you and your business. There's a little tattoo, some other things like this textile bag. You can scroll through, like, and comment. Just make sure that it comes from a genuine place and limit yourself. This is very easy to spend hours on. We just want to spend 10 to 20 minutes on this. Okay. All right. Lastly, I'm going to talk about metrics and then show some more examples. And I can we'll leave some time at the end for questions as well, but I do have a few examples that I want to go through after talking about analyzing these results. So when we think about Instagram, oh, and I do have some advanced strategies as well. Okay, so when we think about Instagram, I want us to think about the potential for growth and making sure that we're analyzing the right things. And I have 5 different types of metrics that I want you to consider as you're trying to see if this is successful for you. Is Instagram working for me in my business? So the first metric is community growth. This is followers, okay? Are your followers increasing? Yes or no? But this is just one type of metric. It can be a really good starting place, but it doesn't tell the whole story. Next up, you want to look at impact. This is how you know if you're reaching enough people. So in Instagram, this is things like profile views and impressions. Okay, how many people are seeing my content? How many people are looking at my profile? This is really helpful as well. If you keep saying visit the link in the bio, but no one's going to visit it, then you need to analyze why that is. Looking at engagement, things like likes, comments, shares, even really great metrics to look at. This can tell you if your audience is tuned into what you're saying. Intent. So in Instagram, you can actually look at website clicks. This is huge. If you are saying, go visit my profile, click the link in the bio, and people are visiting the profile, but they're not clicking the link, something is breaking in that process. So you need to analyze that. And then conversions as well. If you're using something like Google Analytics, you can easily see how many people are visiting over from Instagram. Okay, so let's take a look at this specifically. One thing I want to show you with the insights is, and I suggest everyone does this today, go into your insights. So this is here in my settings. And I want you to scroll down to the content you shared. tap on that. And then take a look. This is the past year. This is a good place to start. Take a look at your top posts in the past year. It automatically says reach, which is great. You can see here that one of my posts reached 9,000 people. It's got a little squiggly arrow next to it, meaning I did pay to reach some of those people. Okay, so I boosted that post. So you can see the other posts. But what I want you to look at, two things. You can look at profile visits here. So every time you say, click the link in the bio, did people click that link in the bio? So you can see a trend here. Whenever I say I'm hiring, people go click the link in the bio, okay? Or they at least go visit my profile. Sorry, they visit my profile. Now, from the profile visits, how many people actually click the link in the bio, which is website taps at the bottom? So I can see in the past year, how many people visited my website. So when I say go click the link in the bio, are people actually doing that? And this is a really great way to get a pulse check on how your content is performing. Okay, you can do this at the post level as well. So let me take a look at this recent post I did here. When you click on view insights and swipe up, you can see how many people liked, commented, shared, saved. Those are two very new important metrics. How many people visited the profile as well, okay? How many people did this post reach? And you can even see how many people reached from their home feed versus going directly to your profile versus from the explore page, which is hashtags. Okay, so this is a lot of information about how your posts are performing. Last thing I want to note here is that make sure you look at the intent of your post before deciding if it was successful. So when I'm talking about a workshop, for instance, I'm not going to, let's see this workshop here. It actually didn't get a lot of likes, but I did get 3 profile visits and 2 follows. And so when I'm looking at this, for instance, promotional posts, I'm not looking at likes and comments. I'm looking at, did people share this? Did they save it? Did they go click the link in the bio? Okay, so when you're talking about promoting something, you may not see a lot of likes and shares because you're asking for something else. All right, let's talk about some advanced strategies like stories and reels. Now, if you are just beginning in this, I don't want you to worry too much about stories and reels just yet. Stay with the main feed. Get comfortable with the main feed. That means just posting regular things to Instagram. Like I said, Instagram has like a bunch of different platforms in one. We're going to talk about stories first. And when you are posting an Instagram story, you do want to consider the elements of a good story. It should tell a story. Again, those entertainment, behind the scenes reality TV show versions of your brand typically work well here. It should have a beginning, middle, and end as well. You can accomplish this all within one story, but if you're breaking it down into different pieces, just make sure there's a flow to it. You want to provide some context to the viewer. Think about how people are watching and consuming stories. They're typically jumping right into it. And encourage some action with your story. Ask for a DM, use a sticker, get creative with it. Now, for those of you who don't want to showcase behind the scenes, you can still design stories. Here's a few examples of stories that I saw, took screenshots of. You can design something like this in Canva, very easy to do. And you can also just pick up your phone, point it at whatever you're working on in your space and showcase stories that way as well. If you're finding that your engagement is not where it should be, typically posting to stories or reels can help boost your engagement. Okay, so advanced strategy. If you're not here yet, focus on the main feed. Okay, let's cover Instagram Reels. So Instagram Reels are new. They literally did not exist this time last year, but they are 15 to 30-second vertical videos on Instagram. And they're often shared with trending music or filters. This is essentially Instagram's response to TikTok. Okay, so TikTok is kind of that new video platform. Instagram Reels is kind of like a response to TikTok, similar to stories. Instagram stories was a response to Snapchat. So this is Instagram trying to stay relevant. Now, here's when you should consider using Reels. This is a new feature. So Instagram is giving priority to Reels content. When we looked at the Discover page, Instagram Reels were showing up there. So if you post an Instagram Reel, there's an increased potential for new people finding you. They're being showed to users who do not follow you. You may notice this yourself when you're scrolling through the Instagram feed. You'll notice Instagram Reels from people who you don't follow. That means there's potential there for the same thing to happen to you. And as a business owner, we always want new people to discover us. You don't have to create a new account for this. You don't have to go create a TikTok account. You can use the features within the app themselves. So this is also a great opportunity to leverage your brand. The types of Reels that are working well right now are relatable and shareable. They offer social proof. You can educate, and then ultimately they can lead to sales. Typically in your sales funnel, this is that attract phase. So Instagram Reels really helps bring in new people to your brand. Here's what the interface looks like. There's a few different ways that you can see Reels. They're kind of circled on the screen. I do recommend kind of scrolling through, taking a look at what's out there and what's available, because that could really help you understand how you can leverage Reels for your business. But let's talk about a few examples. I want to show some examples of all the things we talked about today, and then really open it up for your questions. So definitely start typing your questions in the chat. I think I'm coming a little bit close to time. There's a lot of information that I wanted to share today, but I also want to make sure to get to your questions. So here's an example from the Brickwork Niagara in Thorold, a cute little co-working space. And you can see that they have their designed graphics on the feed. It's a showcase of photography and graphics, so it's kind of coordinated. So you could do something similar like that. You'll also notice their Instagram stories are their highlights are branded as well. Here's an example from White Oaks, how they designed a graphic. So you don't necessarily have to use photography from your business. This looks like a stock photo. There's lots of free stock photo websites. They just added a little bit of text. I like that in the caption, they said, things are starting to bud. Winter could be a memory. These are all kind of tapping into the feelings instead of just saying, come book a room with us right now. They're really adding context to their post. This is Bella Buddha Beads. I want to show you their Instagram reel. You can't hear the sound right now, but you can kind of see how she is showing what her products are instead of telling. So you don't necessarily have to dance. You don't have to point on your screen. You can use Instagram Reels in a way that showcases your business and what you're all about. Okay, so definitely go check out her. I'll actually put the link in the chat so y'all can see what an Instagram Reel looks like for local business. Two more examples here. This one is from Mobile Mixer. It highlights other businesses. So they're highlighting another business here. They're really adding value, but it's still aligned with their mission and their objectives. Okay. And then the last one here, I have two more actually. This one is from an Airbnb. They're very specific storytelling in their posts. So you can see they're painting a picture of what it's like to experience their location. And then they still are promoting, we offer single night bookings for a limited time. So they're still being very specific about their offer. Okay, real last one. This is from a lawyer's office, service-based business here in Fort Erie. This is an example of an educational post. It really positions them as an authority in the space. It's talking about something specific and really educating their audience on their perspective and the way that they show up in the world. We made it to the end.